There he is, Coach.
What's up, man?
What's going on?
I'm good. I'm trying to get this thing to stop spinning. Oh, there. I'm up in the damn screen trying to figure out. My bad, man. This thing
It's
don't
all
work how I
good.
want it to work sometimes. How you do? I couldn't figure out where. I was like, where the hell does this do that? And then apparently we weren't friends on the internet yet, but now we're friends on the internet.
Oh
Can you hear
man,
me? Can you hear like this little microphone thing?
I can hear
Hear
you.
the, you hear the cheers going just now?
You got the
All
whole
right.
crowd with you, huh?
Hey, we got some cool things going, man. I got a weird little soundboard I use every once in a while. I don't usually pull it out too often, but I mean, if good things happen, you cheer a little bit. What else I got on here? I could do stuff like this. If it was stupid, I could do scary. Transition there. Oh, it was funny joke. We do that. And if one does something like, see, oh, we got too much going on over here. It's for pointless.
Oh
All right, I'm
man,
done. I'm done playing with my toys, man.
it's all good. I love it. I love it. Before we
So
go,
how's day?
before we go jump into it, we're gonna go ahead and get started.
All right.
As you guys know, every week we do the weekly relationship discussions. It's your host Joseph Kemp. As always, I try to bring you a guest that can bring incredible value. And this week is a very special week. I had an opportunity to connect with this great man of God, this great individual. But I'm not gonna do the live for you. I want to let you introduce yourself and tell
All
us
right.
who you are and what you do, and then we'll get started, Coach.
Yeah. My name's Anthony Trucks. I sell seashells by the seashore. I'm just kidding, man. No, no, I am. At the end of the day, I don't do anything in relationships, but I'm in a relationship that has its own crazy story. I teach people how to make shift happen. My company is called Identity Shifts. It's around this concept of essentially shifting into the identity of the person to become the person who has the things you want. I think we all are fighting to get the information and the know-how and the strategy, but we all fall short of actually making it real because we never realize that the secret isn't what you know, it's who you are with what you know. And when you become that person, you find easier ways to get the what. You find easier ways to get the information. So life becomes smoother, man. So well, it's kind of an interesting thing I do. At the root of it, I teach people how to take action towards things because that's what it is. When you can take an action, you can get habitually in place. The identity has to come into flow and everything moves much smoother. So that's my thing, man. I coach, I speak, I talk. I talk to companies like Amazon and T-Mobile and PayPal. And outside of that, a lot of what I do is just share my life. And so today I'm assuming, share part of my life, part of my relationship, my marriage, and all that fun stuff. And then hopefully people get some nuggets of wisdom they can take off into their day and some entertainment along the way. And then we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it's about, Coach, is being able to bring value to people, like you said. So for those who are listening now and those who will join on later, once I post them to the page, we're
Yeah.
talking about shifting into healthy relationships.
Yeah.
So if you're ready, Coach, we're gonna dive right into the questions.
Let's do it, man. Let's
All
dive on
right.
in.
First question: what does it mean to shift when it applies to the different areas of our lives?
Great question. So think about it this way. A lot of individuals, they want to go to a new place. I want to get to a different destination because all of us are heading somewhere. And as we're headed in this direction, I don't think we quite comprehend that we're going somewhere. And if we don't take an account of where that place is we're going, we end up somewhere we don't want to be. And that's a big problem for a lot of people because they're just living life. I'm doing what I do, and hopefully if I work real hard, it'll pan out. So when I look at making a shift, what I say is, look, I want to go to a different destination than where I'm headed. Maybe I'm not making the money I want. I want to go to a place that has more money. I want to have a nicer house. I want to be in a better relationship, whatever that might be. And what I do is I step back and go, okay, great. How do you get there? And for a lot of people, the word is change. But change is it's a heavy word, to change something, especially as a human being, to change is difficult. But a shift, man, that'll actually change. And a shift is simple. It's small. It's minute. If you think about if you shift the trajectory of a plane traveling from California to Orlando, Florida, if you shift that trajectory by literally 1 degree, it'll end up 40 miles south in Lakeland, Florida. That one shift, vastly different destination. So when I look at shifts, the shifts are what change your life. A shift in perspective of how you see problems, a shift in how I see opportunity, a shift in how I see myself, a shift in how I love as a verb, a shift in how I may stick in this problem longer than I have in the past to finally get to that diamond I've been looking for. So the different shifts we have in life, they're not different in terms of what they are, or sorry, what you do to navigate them. They're different things, but the same energy has to apply. It's a matter of saying, look, I'm not going to overhaul my entire life, but if I make that one small shift, that tweak, that can actually change the outcome at the far end of my life vastly more than I even understand.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think for a lot of people, when they're thinking shift coach, they're thinking externally, not internally. So they don't
Yeah.
necessarily want to change themselves. They want everything outside them to change. They want the
Oh, yeah,
people
yeah.
that connect to change, but not them. They want to stay the
No.
same.
You know what's worse too is the hardest people to work with are the ones that are leaders in some capacity, leader in the church, leader in their household, leader in business, whatever it is. Because the crazy thing is we have this thing I call everyone's greatest obstacle, ego, your ego, and God forbid anybody ever tell you got to work on something. So when I make a shift, it's going to be like shift the external things because I don't want to look in here because this is difficult. And honestly, the hard part is in our world we are constantly met more now than ever in a world of social where we constantly have a mirror being shown to us of what we don't have or who we are not or where we're falling short. And we have one of two ways to address this. And way number one is what everybody else does. I see this person doing something and I immediately go, oh, they're horrible. They're not smart. They could be doing something else. And I want people press these people down. The haters, we call them. They press you down because it's the only way for them to get to a level of having you at their eye level or below so they can sleep better at night and not have to do number two. Number two is, oh man, that person's up there killing it. I'm not there. I would have to climb up to get there. So I feel small. I feel like there's something wrong. And I'm going to lose sleep tonight because I'm not doing what's going on. Think about the person who, like, whenever they go and get successful and come home, nobody at home likes them anymore. All the friends they bat, you know what I'm talking about? Everybody hates you at home because you went and did. Why is that? Well, because you were right there where they were at. And you became a mirror to what they didn't accomplish. So what can they do? They can say, hey, great job. I love you. A way to get after. Or they can go, oh, yeah, you ain't nobody. You just got lucky. And it's really a sad part of life. But, yeah, coming back circle to that same statement, it's sad because a lot of people, dude, they don't want to admit that the shift has to take place inside before anything changes outside.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I do believe one or two things usually happen. It's just my perspective. People are either inspired or they're offended. They're inspired by the changes that you're making. They're like, man, you know what? I see what they're doing. I see where they started. I can make those same changes. I can make those same moves in my personal life or my business or whatever the area. Or they're offended, like, who do you think you are? Why are you trying to better yourself? Why are you trying to improve? So it's either one or the other that usually happens.
And it happens in relationships too, unfortunately. Like some people, there's always like this ebb and flow of one person kind of outpacing the other person. And whenever you do get to that point of you start getting offended, the problem is offense turns into I feel attacked, I clam up, and I look at you as the person that has to solve this and deal with this. So if you all of a sudden are growing as a wife or as a husband, and you come to the spouse and say, look, like I would love for you to grow with me, read this book, come and no, what do you do, right? I feel attacked, I feel offended. Why are you changing up on me, right? And the reality is now it's on you to fix this, and I get to stay where I'm at, and then I stay here. And because everything's not getting better, and you still are doing what you're doing, I keep blaming it on you. So when I'm blaming it on you, I'm never blaming it here. I never get better. And so it becomes this vicious cycle of people outpacing other people and never realizing, like it's an ownership thing, bro. I tell people you got to own your shift, man. That's the first start of it. You got to own your shift, because if you don't, you get stuck. And then, I know people that have been stuck in the same place. Like, you know what I hate? I hate when I meet like a 56-year-old person who has a ton of life experience, far more than me, yet no wisdom or less than. And I'm curious. I'm like, why is this person who's had all these experiences? Why are they not able to see that? And all it was they didn't own their shift. So they never made sense of it, never learned anything. They lack the amazing wisdom that could be in their life. Yet I know people younger than me with immense amounts of wisdom. And it's like, because, they experienced stuff and they then learned from it because they owned it. They grew up a little bit earlier, recall. So that's why I believe like age isn't this thing where like, because they're older, they're wise. Now, I know a lot of old, stupid people, but I also know a lot of young, incredibly wise people also.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Always say in a relationship field that most people, what they do, coach, they take the experience with them, not the lesson. So they bring their experience, but they leave the lesson behind. And so the experience now has shaped how they perceive people, relationships, and everything around them, instead of learning the lessons so they could be better and then hopefully learn about the other person, and then they can move on in their life.
Yeah, nobody does that, man. There's a lot of that. You know what's funny as we think about it? It's people problems. It's all the human. It's us. And I'm not saying it's somebody's wrong with somebody else. I'm saying a lot of it boils down to the moment we can actually internally start to investigate what's going on and find out what that is. It's the moment you give yourself permission to improve, your life improves. And until we get to that point, until we actually get to be stuck in that funky, like, oh, this sucks. Like when my stuff fell apart and I finally was like, all right, I got to figure my life out. It took me sitting in a room on a couch, staring at a wall for hours by myself. Because here's the fact of it. the people that are in those places, and I'd be stretching to say everybody. I'm not going to blanket this and be like, oh, everybody's like this. But what I've noticed is people who are in those places that do the things we're talking about, they aren't very good at hanging out by themselves. They don't like them. They don't sit in quiet rooms. When you're around them, they're always chattering because they can't just be quiet and at peace. And I find like when people aren't settled inside, there's a lot of weird funk going on. And so for me, like I can tell a person who's like at ease because I can be with them in a room and they don't have to be talking. They're just quiet and it's okay. No one feels awkward. Like this person there's a sense of settled and I can be around them for a while. The people who are not, it's like they're always trying to find ways to go. And so like I know this person doesn't spend time internally checking themselves, talking to themselves, reflecting, understanding, having different conversations. And those are the people I steer clear of, man, because they start wrapping me up in their weirdness. And I'm like, oh, why do I feel weird around this person? Oh, because they don't shut up. They complain, they gossip, they judge. Like, that's just not my people. Those who've done this work, their relationships are better. Their lives are better. Their health is better. Their businesses are better because they know how to look at the one common denominator involved in all of those, which is them. And when you can navigate that, even if it's hard, like those are those people who win.
Yeah, perspective for sure. Next question, Coach. How do we shift from unhealthy relationships to healthy relationships?
Well, first you got to see the unhealthy relationship. That's the first piece of it. You know, because people, it's funny though, that people will date the same person with a different name. That's it. And you know, here's the thing I got to tell people, because this is one I've experienced in my own life. The person that you choose to be your intimate partner is a barometer for how you hold your self-worth. Repeat this. The person that you have as the intimate, the core person next to you, it will show me how you hold your self-worth. There's a reason why you don't see A-list celebrities hanging out with, you know, the homeless person on the street. Like, there's a sense of level, right? It's just what it is. And so when I look at people who are in these relationships that are unhealthy, the first thing I look at is, well, how do you see yourself? Because for some reason, that person is who you see yourself as the highest you can get. We don't, as humans, usually settle for less. It's typically a thing where, like, if that's my piece of cake, I'm getting my piece of cake. How dare you take it from me? So if I settle for that person, it's one of it. Now, the first thing is, like, look at yourself. Look at who you're with, because that person you're with, listen to your mom, your cousin, your grandma, your brothers, your friends. Listen to them tell you who you're with. And if you listen for a moment, they'll be like, I don't know about this one. And you can try to convince them and, no, they're okay. But if you stop and breathe, right, for a second, you'll see, like, that's if I want to shift to a healthy relationship, I got to first, like, raise my personal level of self-worth and confidence for what I believe I deserve in my life. There's this statement that I realize is kind of interesting. It's an interesting metaphor, but there's this, like, snake handlers. I find snake handlers to be interesting because snake handlers do this thing where they'll take a snake and they'll have them and they'll ingest, or they'll take a little bit of bites and they'll absorb this poison. And little by little, they'll actually build an immunity to it. Like back in the day, there's a king they talk about who did this, and then he was getting raided one day, and he wanted to kill himself, so he drank poison. But he'd spent so much time building immunities, he couldn't kill himself, got tortured, right? So the idea is, we in life, we start dealing with this poison, and after a while, we become immune to it, and we're good over time. But if we get that one bite, we might die. And this is how we live in relationships most of the time. We'll live in these spaces dealing with a person who might lie to us, might cheat on us, might not respect us, might duck down to us. But this is a little bite. We ingest that. Little by little, we get immune to it. So after a while, I'm like, you know what? The evil I know is better than the evil I don't. The poison I know is I can handle this poison. So we get used to the same poison. And so I'm not helping this relationship. But you know what? I can deal with it. I can handle that. It's okay. And what I tell people is stop being a damn snake handler. like Stop handling any kind of poison whatsoever, right? And step out of that. So the first part is, like, understand where I'm at, who I'm with. Second part, step out of the relationship. And then what I did is, like, I got to work on me and figure out who I am and who I want to attract. And it all starts with looking at who do I got to be every day? How do I love myself? Because how you love you is how you actually get other people to see how to love you. I must train other people on how to love me. Yeah. And if I don't understand, it starts with how I love me. Dude, there's no one's like, so if I talk down to myself all the time, the person's going to think it's okay to talk about how down I am. If I'm like, oh man, I'm chubby, I'm out of shape, I don't like myself, and there'll be jokes about it. Oh, such a chubby bastard, self up, right? It just, it creeps in and we don't even notice it going on. And so what I've realized is I got to first love me by what I allow myself to say and not say to me. And when other people around me, I let them know by how I respond to them what's cool and not cool to say. And what's funny is when I hold my space and I hold that ground, you find the person who's looking and being like, oh, I like that person. Because think about it, Joseph, you've ever walked into a place And I'm a heterosexual, you know, straight man. I walk into a place and I'll see a woman, and I'm happily married, but I can look and I can see a woman who holds herself. Like I can see it from across the room. I can be like, this girl, the smile she has, the way she carries herself, the people talking, you can be like, hey, she's a winner. You can just tell. It'll emanate off of her. So if you don't step correct to that person, then you can't, they're never going to talk to you, right? And if you watch the movies, the guy who walks up to her is the guy that has a similar carry of himself. How are you doing? You know, like it's a respect. How did he get that? He worked on him. He loved him. He built him. He knows who he is. So then he can be around someone at that caliber and feel comfortable talking to him and know that this is the level of person I want in my life. But it doesn't happen because all of a sudden he gets in there and goes, all right, I want that girl. Let me, what tactic do I get? What line do I pick up? What clothes do I wear? It doesn't matter what you're wearing or what you're going to say. Like if you're the person, you'll go. Because to be honest, opposite sex, they'll test you, man. They will. If I go, this is a little bit of game back in the day from when I was single. When I did this accidentally, but when I would go to places and I want to be, you know, I'm a guy that can talk and I can share and I'm confident in myself. But I would go to a group, when I would go with my buddies, it was always awkward. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to a group of women by myself and I'm just going to go talk to them. And I didn't realize how powerful this was. If you can go walk up to a group of the opposite sex and you can have a conversation and carry yourself, that's a game changer because they're going to test you. Who are you? Why are you here? Why are you here? I don't know you. I'm just trying to come talk to you. What makes you think you talk to us? What makes you think I should talk to you? Like you go, you know what I'm saying? It's a weird thing, but you go back and forth because they'll poke and they'll go back. But here's what I always found. If I could hold myself for about 90 seconds to 2 minutes in a banter back and forth conversation, I was in. All the girls were like, hey, they're hanging out, have a conversation. Where you from? Back and forth. I'm like, hey, I got a couple of buddies who want to, is it okay if they come hang out? Oh yeah. Cause they think your buddies are like you. They come over. It's all good and well. But that little thing there, that's a confidence piece that you have to have as a human being to go into the world and talk to other people. Now I'm talking about relationships and getting the girl, but don't think it doesn't happen when it's like, hey, can I go to the grocery store and have a conversation with somebody about possibly getting a job there, right? Or if I go to an actual board meeting and have a conversation there, how you carry yourself is big. And all of it boils back to, dude, do you love yourself? Because I'll know pretty quickly how you love yourself based on how you carry yourself.
Yeah. So much to unpack there. I have this thing that I say, and I actually put it on my page about 2 days ago. If you love yourself, work on yourself.
Yeah.
And that's just saying that, you know, to attract new, you must become new, right? And so a lot of people are in desire of something that they're not, right? They're kind of reaching. It's not that you can't have what you desire, even in relationships, but going back to the beginning of what we talked about, Anthony, you got to work on yourself. You have to change.
Man.
You can't remain who you are and try to attract something new. Like something in you has to become new. And then you can attract.
Yeah. Every time, man. It's what do they say? The new you is going to cost your old you. I said the price for your new you is going to be your old you. And you said change. And to be honest, a lot of it comes down. The same thing we talked about. It's a shift. You want to shift into a healthy relationship. This is what it takes. Because the same thing is when you get into this aspect of, I say, healthy relationships, a healthy relationship is two people individually happy who come together. Not I'm happy and they're not, and then we come together, they want to borrow my happy. It's just difficult to do. I've tried, it doesn't work. But I found that if I can get into a relationship with a person that's like me, they probably have something that keeps them happy and joyous. We come to this relationship happy, it's the first piece. But also, I then, because I know how to love me, I know how to love that person. I think if we don't know how to love us, we don't have that skill set, we don't have the ability, we don't have the experience doing it, how do you expect to love somebody else who's not you? Like we're the closest person to us, right? So I think for a lot of us, we have to first realize like that seriously, we call it self-love and people like, self-love. It sounds like something some lady in Bali would say sitting on a pillow. No, bro, like I'm a grown former NFL linebacker and I'll tell you like, I got to find ways to love myself every day by, you know, the way I take care of my body, the food that I eat, what I do. And if I can love on me, I can love my wife at the level she needs to. But if I don't love me, I'm not going to show up the way I need to. Because here's the thing we do. We also self-sabotage. Yeah. If I don't think I'm adequate, I'll do things, say things that get in weird fights and it gets all funky because I don't want to be in a situation where I feel like I'm doing them a disservice. So I will fall off or I'll find a way to get out of the relationship. And people do this because in their hearts of hearts, they're like, I'm not good enough for this person. They're wasting their time. Why are you even with me? You know, why? Like you created that out of weirdness because you don't love you. And if you get to love you, you'll be in a space where you'll do what needs to be done to make that thing work.
100%. I have this thing that kind of drives me. That's a part of why I get up every day and I push. I truly believe personally, Anthony, the better I am, the better everybody around me is. Because I already know I already pour into my wife, I already pour into my brothers, I already pour into the people that's in my close-knit circle. And so one of
Yeah.
the things that drives me every day is to understand as I improve, they improve. As I
Yep.
get better, they get better. So it's not
Yeah.
just me. There's a driving force behind that.
Yeah. I agree, man. It always boils down to that. There's people say the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, but I believe the average of the expectations of the 5 people you surround yourself with. Because if I'm with people that, that are, let's say, good people, but I aspire to more, I'll get in that place where, like, they may, what is he doing? Why are you trying to get better? Why are you trying to build? What's wrong with where you're at right now? And so what I look at is go, look, I'm the expectation guy. I want to be around people who expect to grow, expect to be better, expect that
Yeah.
who I am right now cannot be the same person I am next year, right? And those are the individuals I want to be around. Like I tell people, if you want to make $2 million, who do you think is better hang out with? A person that has a $500,000 or $1 million? Most people will go, oh, $1 million person. Okay. Well, what if that person that has $1 million is content at $1 million, but the $500,000 person is like, I want to make 6. I want to be with the person that's got a $500,000 wants to make 6 because I want to be with the expectations. And so that's my mentality of how I look at friendships. If I want my marriage to be good, I can't be like, oh, my marriage is good. No, I want to be with someone that wants to have a marriage that doesn't make sense. It's so amazing. I want to be with people that have businesses that want to stretch beyond what they're doing and they're not content. And it doesn't matter where they're at right now, but I got people who aren't as successful as me, we'll call it, in whatever capacity you want to measure. But like I love being with them because they drive me, right? Because they expect to be more and they push me to be more. They don't care about what I got or what they got. They realize it's about an aspiration to be a great dad or a great mom or a great sibling or whatever it is. Those are the people I want to be around. Those who are pressing to be better because they expect more themselves.
Yeah. So good. I love that. So many gems there. Let's keep it moving. Next question, Coach.
Keep moving. Yeah.
Why is it difficult for most people to make the necessary shift in their lives when it pertains to their habits? I am big on habits. That's what I coach on, right? Because I think there's a disconnect for a lot of people to what they believe and what they actually practice. So you can have a belief about yourself, but it doesn't manifest because you don't have the habits to align with it.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into depth there. And there's some great books on habits. Charles Duhigg has a good book. BJ Fogg has Tiny Habits. James Clear has Atomic Habits. Brendon Burchard has High Performance Habits. Dean Graziosi has Millionaire Success Habits. A lot of great books on habits. And there's a lot of science behind it. And I'm going to give you my non-sciencey, regular guy perspective of habits. What I have found with habits, there's a couple things. One is we have habits currently running. People think you have to build them. You have to shift them. They're in place. You build new ones by, restructuring it, but we've already got things going. It's our, what I call effortless effort. It's already in place. There's a habit around how I take a shower and how I go to the bathroom and how I get up in the morning, how I drive my car. There's habits already there. You just got to put better ones in place to get better outcomes. I believe what ends up happening is we get let down by new habits. And what it does, it takes out the drive to put new habits in. And what I mean by this is, so somebody says, I want to be better. They go and say, well, this coach over here, this person said to do this, this, and this every morning. So I'm going to do that thing. And then I go do that thing and I realize it's not working for me. And we get let down by the habit. So we assume that habits, why am I going to try? It's not going to do anything better, right? It's like, why try another diet? None of them worked. And that's what I look at. So I go, okay, well, here's one thing no one thinks about. In the world of identity, which is the work I do, you are what you do. You are what you consistently do, period, right? So the habits create you. Well, today, right now, we have all become somebody because of the habits leading up to this very moment in time. And most of the time, we just haphazardly do things. We just do stuff because mom taught us, dad taught us, school taught us, coach taught us, whatever. We just do these things. And that's how we become who we are now. We try to do new things. We don't realize that those habits we borrowed from somebody else, they're for a person that they're becoming, not who I'm becoming. So, of course, the habit lets me down. Because I don't have the desires that person has in life. I don't have the setbacks they had in life. I don't have what the core beliefs that they may have. So I'm borrowing habits from somebody, and it's like, why am I even doing this? It doesn't resonate with me. So what I think why people don't do a lot of habits is because they've been let down by so many times in the past. And so what I do when I look at habits, I say, who do I want to become down the line? Not what is this car I have and house? Who do I want to become? Because if you think about it, I want to become the person that has the house or has the car. Great. What is their daily operation experientially probably like? Okay, great. Compare it to your own. Is it the same? Probably not. Okay, great. What habits are different? These specific ones. Okay, those are the ones I'm going to do. And now what happens is I'm buying into something where I'm actually looking at this end and going, okay, I'm becoming somebody I want to become over time. And so now if I stay in that lane, now I can actually have some joy around the habit because let's be honest, most of the time the beginning sucks. It does not fun in the beginning of doing new things. We have what's called homeostasis as humans. It's a natural set point. Power of Habit's a great book. Charles Duhigg talks about this. When you get in this flow, there are a lot of individuals who don't realize no matter what it is, your natural flow. If you try to do something that's going to improve your life or decline, no matter what it is, the change itself feels uncomfortable. So I don't want to do it. Think about working out. People know that exercise will make them healthier, yet it's so hard to do because it's out of my homeostasis. I want to stay here. And so what I tell people is like the idea is that this homeostasis doesn't have to stay here forever. You can do a little bit of it increasing it, but also it may feel uncomfortable, but not forever. And after a while, you keep doing it. All of a sudden, I have a new homeostasis level, a new habit set, a new structure I do in my life. And it's actually same feeling as it was down here, effortless effort, but it's a better output. And I keep on doing that over my lifetime. And all of a sudden, you got these people who are living these lives that look easy, ton of success. You go, how in the world do they do this? Well, I couldn't do that on a singular week, and they're doing it on one day. They must be superhuman. No, they're not superhuman. They just kept elevating, and all it was making a look at who do I want to become? What are the habits? Let's do those so they become normal to me. Then I adopt new ones and new ones. And the funny thing is, after a while, listen to this. If you go and ask somebody who's successful, almost every time I've talked to people, I ask them, say, who were you back when you were like unsuccessful, not that great at this thing, bad relationship? Who were you? And they do just like this, Joseph. They go, man, I was somebody else back then. It's a red flag. Like you were a different identity back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when I talk about identity shift, that's the work I do. I shift people into that by building and creating something through the actions. And at the end of it, people look back and go, man, I don't even know who I am anymore, but in a good way. That, I believe, is why people struggle with habits, because they haven't really done the work to figure out what are the right ones for me.
Yeah, so good. Atomic Habits dives into that as well. I heard you mention the book earlier. It talks about being able to already understand what your routine is and then add little habits to that so you can be able to change or create new habits.
Little by little by little. Yep. BJ Fogg talks about that. BJ Fogg's a Stanford psychologist. He's got a lot of good little ways of looking at habits too.
Yeah, really good stuff. Does a shift require multiple perspectives when it applies to cultivating relationships?
Yes and no. I think that the shift requires two people's perspectives, the two in the marriage or in the relationship. I mean, you can talk to mom and dad, but we live in different worlds than our parents, different aspects of beliefs and societal norms. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like I'll listen to people, but I know that I have to have the one puzzle I chose to solve is my wife. That's the one puzzle. So, for example, this is my personal story. We were high school sweethearts, 16 years old, literally cutest couple in the yearbook. I was the homecoming king, went to college on a football scholarship. She came up there, had a kid at 19 years old, lived our life. Everything was great. Played in the NFL, came home from the NFL, and everything hit the fan, man. Like everything all fell apart. Got divorced, right? I was in this capacity where like I didn't even like myself. Everything fell apart. But then we got remarried. And this is the moment where I believe you're asking about perspectives. There was a good hiatus there where I hated this woman. Hey, I would have been fine if she just disappeared one day. I didn't want her to die or have pain, but I'm like, this is the mother of my kids. We had custody battles, bro. It's crazy. And now we are incredibly happy in an amazing marriage, right? How do you get there? How did that take place? Well, it's what you're talking about. What I did is I realized that the only perspective that mattered was mine and hers. I had some friends that I needed her to talk to get their blessing, and they gave the blessing, right? There's a perspective. But after that, it was like, all right, let's go at it. Let's figure out what this marriage needs. And we can't take the insight of my friends and her mom and her aunts and people's cousins and people on social media. How could you take that woman back? You know what happened? What's going on? All that stuff. And we said, you know what? I look forward to 60 years old, sitting on the chair in front of the house, swinging with my grandkids, hanging around with my kid's mom and their actual grandma married to me. I want that in the end. So no matter what that looks like up here, it's like the stock market. It's up and down, but we're going to get there. I know it's my destination. Therefore, the rest of your perspectives, they don't fit in unless it fits in with me and hers narrative for what makes our marriage strong. And I think people have to get to realize, like when things go in our marriage now, it's our marriage to deal with. I don't need someone giving perspective. Someone said no one else but God, and that's the truth. He's the anchor to our marriage. But like we have that anchor point to go to, but to be honest, like there's perspectives that like just we get, and that's okay. No one else really got to get it but me. And if I was to adopt the world's perspective, I'm taking in their hurt, their pain, their mistrust. And if I let that in my marriage, I have nothing but the same. And I don't want that in there. So when I look at what we got going on, it's like, look, my marriage is what it is. I love my wife. I love our life. My kids love what we got going on. And if I had to listen to other people, I wouldn't have this. I wouldn't. If I'd listened to other people's judgments and their pain from their situations, I wouldn't have an incredible marriage. And that for me is one of the gifts of like a perspective I hope people get is like what comes around your marriage, it can't get in the marriage. You can take it in a conversation, but it's its own entity, I believe. I think a marriage sits outside of us. I have myself, she has her, but the marriage in and of itself is an entity. And sometimes what the marriage needs, I have to give, right? It's a separate entity in that perspective. And so whenever we have people say things, it comes into the conversation at the marriage level. I'm not making choices separately because I'm not in the marriage. I'm a separate individual. And then it kills the marriage because I'm being my own person, not thinking of the entity. And so like, I don't let people's words come in. And if they do come in, I'll talk to her like, hey, so-and-so said this, man. What do you think about this? I'm not going to stew in my own and just talk to my homeboy, because then again, outside stuff doesn't help mend it. And here's a cool thing. When you keep it out, you bond deeper. And now all of a sudden it's this ridiculous, rigid, steel strong thing nobody can touch. And that is something that's special. There is something unique about that when you have that bond and that depth of connection, that man, like you live this life of true freedom. Dude, I am the most free I could ever imagine in my life in a confined relationship. And it's because I don't have to worry about like, does someone love me? Do I have to go find love? We're not arguing. The kids are happy. It's healthy. So I can be here serving with you and I have no pain or weight of guilt. She's out with her friends hanging out, having dinner right now. And I'm great. I'm totally cool with it. I'm not stressed off what she's doing. I don't worry about her. When she comes home, how you doing, love? You have a great day? Yes. You have a great, it's like, it's so much joy and strength. She gets to be free and I get to be free. We come back happy. And all of that's because what happens in my marriage is affected only by what happens in the marriage.
It's so good what you're saying on multiple levels, Anthony, and I appreciate your transparency about just what you went through with your wife. Thank you for sharing that. I hope that blesses the people that's listening. I always encourage couples just in my coaching practice about having a vision. Like, what is your vision for your relationship? And do you two share that vision? And then just like you said, like just you two working on a relationship, right? And being very careful of who you listen to. I heard someone say on a podcast the other day, evaluate the evaluators, right? Evaluate the people who are giving advice and giving counsel. Like, are they worth receiving the counsel that they're giving to you? Because if they're not, then just push it to the side and keep moving forward. So I just love the factor.
Yeah, you got to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question, Coach. What is a sign that we have made a shift in the wrong direction? We'll stay personal right now. We won't go relationship, just in our personal life.
You know who's really good at showing you this? The people that love you the most. I have people that I know in my life that they'll come and they'll share things like, oh, I cut that person off because they didn't get this. And when I hear people say that about 2 or 3 people, it immediately goes to like, all right, so where did you adjust or do something that the people that were close to you all of a sudden aren't close to anymore? Because you can't blame it only on them, right? And so I think some of the biggest red flags of you making a shift in the wrong direction are you lost the people that were good for you and you gain the people that are not so good for you. Because as humans, we don't like to be alone, no matter what it is. And we'll stick in bad environments with bad communities and bad groups because it's less pain than being solo and not having a group. So people stay in these areas for far too long with the wrong people. And I think you've made a shift in the wrong direction. It just simply means like you left that group and you went to a group that was not as supportive. The expectations were lower. Like they say, I can tell who you are by the people closest to you, their expectation, same concept. And then I also think that we are usually aware of it. We're aware when we have shame. I think it's the quickest way to notice it. Do you have shame in some capacity? That's it. If you want like a really quick, like what's a litmus test? I can test real quick. Do you have shame? If you have shame around the fact that maybe somebody might see you doing something, like you've made a shift in the wrong direction. If there's someone, we talked about the respect person, if you have to hide yourself, which is shame, from someone that you love and respect, you've made a shift in the wrong direction. So if mom can't see you, dad can't see you, my best friend isn't around, I don't want to hang out with them so much. Like if you start doing that stuff, it's a pretty clear indicator. Like you're not too proud of what you got going on, which means you've shifted in the wrong direction.
Really good. I like to go back to the comment that you made earlier. It mentioned that there is a difference between being alone and being lonely. And I think what you're talking about earlier is about being alone. A lot of people don't want to be alone because they haven't come to that place of solitude where they can just be at peace and be by themselves. If they have a relationship with God, right, spend time with the Father. Outside of that, lonely is what you're now talking about, which is a difference from before when you spoke about being alone. Or lonely, like I need to have someone, right? I feel like I'm lacking companionship. I need somebody in my space. So you kind of just pick and choose whatever's close to you or whatever's familiar. And I really do
Mm-hmm.
believe a lot of people, coach, they build relationships mainly off of convenience, not what's
Oh yeah.
best for you. Well,
Oh
this
yeah,
person's
bro.
been around, they work the same job as me, as we go to school, or I've known them since I was 9. So it doesn't mean that they're healthy for you, but they're familiar. So
There's
yeah,
there. I agree. There's that. What's that? The book by Viktor Frankl. It's A Man's Search for Meaning. Talks about
yeah,
logotherapy, and he talks about the existential vacuum, right? This gaping hole we can't fill, and we do that when we have this hole that happens somewhere in some way. We fill it with things. For some people, it's men, women, casual sex. It's drugs. It's partying. It's skydiving. It's just a bunch of stuff. Not that individually by itself these things are all horrible, but in the capacity that most people do them, it's not that great, and they're trying to fill that void, and that void never gets full. And then after a while, you're just stuck with this empty life where you've given so much energy and had no return because you're putting the wrong things in there.
yeah. So good, good stuff. Next question, coach. How do
Do
we
it.
identify when to make a shift for the better when it applies to our relationships?
We already know the answer to that. Everybody knows that. To be honest, I'm dead serious. You know what I don't like about humanity is we in this world we live in now, everybody has to have a catalyst moment. The moment where all of a sudden this happened. And so you know what, girl, he did this. I was finally done. Well, you knew that morning that you were there a year past the time you should have been. You waited for one specific moment to leave her because all of a sudden she did something crazy. But in your gut of guts, like you don't need to be there. It doesn't fill you up. That's the thing. So the catalyst moment could literally be you one day just sitting there and go, oh, wait, I hate this person. I don't love myself in this relationship. I feel like I lost myself. Something got to change. I got to get out of here. And someone can go, hey, what happened? You can go, nothing. I just all of a sudden realized it. Like that should be it. And I know that if somebody goes back, and I guess if you want to give it some realistic thing, think of yourself like a teacup. Is that teacup overflowing or does it feel like it's at the bottom? Because you can't pour from an empty cup. And if you're pouring from an empty cup, you know what that feels like. If your cup is full, you never feel like you're running out. Like you can't wait to be around that person. Everything is phenomenal. Like I never get tired of my wife. I don't know how it's possible, to be quite honest. Like I could be around her all damn day and it's like, it's good. It feels like home, but there's not always been that way. Right. So what I tell people is like, already, your heart knows whether or not this needs to be removed. You need to be out of this one. But everybody kind of sits there and they wait and they wait. And here's what I tell people. If you go to your friends and you're complaining about him, complaining about her and what they don't do and what goes on, I've told my friends this before. I've said, look, have you said this to him? Well, no, because I don't want to start a fight. Okay, cool. Well, listen to this. I don't want to hear it anymore. What do you mean you want to hear it anymore? I say, well, at the end of the day, here's the truth. If you are experiencing this and you don't take the actions to have it stop or to change, at this point now, there's no one to blame but yourself. If you're on a bus and you know it's going to hell and you don't get off the bus at every stop, that's on you. That's your fault you went to hell. You could have got off at stop A on Market Street. Like, why didn't you just get off the damn bus, Don't complain to me you're heading to hell anymore. So what I tell people is like, you're going to have to get real honest. If you realize where the bus is headed and you don't like where the bus is headed, if you stay on this bus, you can't come complain to me anymore. It's a personal problem. Make an action to end this. And the moment you do that, you actually get two things. One, you get free of that situation, which gives you space to breathe and love yourself again. But also, you realize how much control you actually have of your life. For some reason, we're in this space of feeling like we're helpless and hopeless, and it's not the case, man. Every single day we had a choice, and some choices are hard to make than others. But you can choose to have a one of pain for 365 days because you can endure that one of pain each day, but it's 365 units of pain. Or you can say, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get a 20 of pain for the next 2 days. It's going to be horrible for the next 2 days, or a 4 of pain for the next 4 days. It's 40 points of pain, but it's 40 points of pain compared to 365. What's your choice to endure? If you know that it sucks, get out of there so you have 0 points of pain.
Yeah, so good. I really do believe unspoken communication and a lack of accountability go hand in hand. I think for most people who don't communicate what they feel, what they think, what they need, they usually take no ownership of what goes wrong within a relationship.
True.
That there's this assumption that the other person just somehow figure it out. You should just
Yeah.
know. You should just know
No, they
what's going
don't.
on. And that's not fair. You have to communicate to the other person. They're not a mind reader. They can't just
Yeah,
sit
yeah.
back and look at your behavior and be like, all right, I put the head nod, with the sneeze, and you move your foot to this side. So that means this translates into this action. Like, it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. And and this is, what you're talking about, kind of what I think is we'll call a stigma that women do this well. Like women do the whole beat around the bush and men don't get it. Like talk directly to me. To be honest, my wife had directly talked to me and I didn't get it. It's a man and woman problem. We both don't hear things. And I think what has to happen is we have to try our best to actually get a chance to understand clearly what they mean. It's just, what is the book? Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He says, seek first, understand, then be understood. I think a lot of us argue with just the intention of retorting and responding without listening. And the moment I could actually understand my wife's situation, it changed the conversation vastly. I said different things, flowed different ways. So I think part of that comes to like, you do be as direct as you can, but if it's not landing, you got to find a way to be clear. The only way you're going to know if it did or not is if that person can reply it back to you. So this idea of like being straightforward and having a conversation, it's like, man, we need communication is why it's so key. People think communication is am I talking? It's not am I just talking, am I listening? Am I understanding? And kind of repeat back to you what you're saying and without my ego tied to it. Because then when like my wife would say something and I go, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you said this, and this, but do you get it? Yeah, I get it. I didn't get it. When she'd say it back to me, do you get it? I go, yeah. Okay. What you're saying is this. Yes, what I'm saying. Now, when I do this, yes, what I'm saying, now her heart goes, okay, he gets me. Now, whatever he says back to me, I'm open to receiving now because I understand he understands me. Most people just yell back and forth all day and they don't sit and breathe it in. And so like the direct conversation, seeking to understand also gives you a space to be able to have a conversation and really make it better. That's why for me, years, we have had the same argument for like 4 years. 4 years of some of the same arguments. And I'm like, why do we keep having the same argument? And I was like, as both of us had this wall up. And when I finally stopped and she stopped and listened, oh, wow. Well, we're dumb for having to take 4 years to figure that out, right? So now we can move past that one. So things become much smoother, but it does come from being very, very direct. If you got to like bite your tongue and say it, but we're not mind readers. If you have some weird thing you do that you think I should get it, I'm not going to get it. I tell my wife all the time, I'm not you. My brain doesn't think the way yours does. It's like getting mad at a zebra for having stripes. I don't get it, right? But if you try to get me to get it, then I can help and we can figure this out. Or you can just keep getting mad that I don't get it, but that's whatever you want to do.
I feel like I have that conversation as well, even with my wife, and I have to remind her, like, I'm not you. I don't think how you think. I don't feel how you feel. And like you said, it's just a growing process, but you can get to a place like you have with your wife where you can connect with your partner. It's just through those conversations of transparency and intimacy. And something I also think that a lot of people do, Coach, is, people want to control the whole conversation. So they want to communicate the message to you, and then they want to control how you interpret the message, and then they want to control now what their response is going to be to it. And I don't think people are as open-minded as they think they are when they're going into conversations. Like, don't go in asking questions with answers in your head. Like, go in actually with a clear mind to hear what the person has to say, because you don't know what they were thinking or feeling in that moment. You're not them. And people will they'll study behavior, and based on the behavior, they'll say, I have you figured out. But I always give the example, even as I'm coaching women, I'll tell them, well, consider a man assuming that he knows what's wrong with you just because you're crying. When you as a woman can cry for many reasons, right? You can cry because you're mad. You can cry because you're upset. You can cry because you're angry or you're happy. Imagine that he assumed every time that you cried that he knew what was wrong with you. You wouldn't feel pretty good about that, would you? And so don't do that to the man, to assume you know what's going on because of the behavior. You need to understand the what, but then the why. Ask him, well, why do you do this? Or, did you notice that you do these things? That communication is very important.
It's vastly important. If you care about the person, you'll spend the time to figure it out. It's a matter of do you truly, at the depths of you, care? If you don't care about the person, do them a gift of let them know. I don't care about you as much as I think. It sounds hard and it sounds harsh, but my son right now, we want him to be better at hurdles and track. This is a stupid analogy, but I think it'll make sense. We are like, dude, go in the backyard. We bought hurdles for you. Go practice hurdles. And it's pulling teeth to get him to do it. He doesn't desire to do it. But he got a new PlayStation 5. And that dude was in his phone for hours looking for the perfect TV with 48 gigahertz, some refresh speed. Bro, what are you doing? And just a couple of days ago, it's look, if you spend as much energy and investment of time in the hurdles as you did in finding the TV, do you know how good you'd be at that? He just didn't have the desire. He didn't care. And I made it aware to him. So what we're saying, I bring it back to this kind of conversation relationship. If I don't care about this person enough to dig in at that level and find it, search for hours for the solution, tell yourself, look, I guess I just don't care about you as much. It may not be you, it could be me, but I'm being honest. And now you have a real conversation. It'll hurt the person, but then at least you open up this wound that can start healing in some capacity. I think the thing is people are so afraid of fighting, so afraid of hurting feelings that they'll passively do it because no one immediately gets hurt. And I think, man, the most important thing you can do is tell somebody as soon as possible, like, look, I'm not in this. Because then you both get out of it. You both get to stop, pretty much surviving the relationship. You're both getting tortured slowly. One person's not in it, bro. Let the other person know, like, hey, I'm not in this right now. So both people can stop getting tortured and go find something that's a better fit.
Yeah. Well, you have to be grounded and be pretty transparent to get to that place.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do. But it's hard. These are things people, and I connect with those hearts daily. It's just a different area of what I work on. But the reality is like the harder, the faster that you can have the conversation, the quicker someone can get to the result they need. The idea that I want to preserve somebody's feelings doesn't help them. I think there's this concept of tough love. It's, they call it, oh, it's tough love. It's tough love. How is it tough love? It's just love, right? I think tough love is this concept we give somebody to make it feel softer to tell them the truth. So if you love the person, why would you lie to them? Like if I love you, I'm gonna tell you the truth. It may feel hard, like it may be difficult to absorb, but that's me really loving you because I want what's best for you. So I'm gonna tell you what you need to hear, not what gets us through the moment, just pacifies the two of us. And I think so many people are afraid of the arguments or afraid of saying something that'll hurt somebody's feelings that they don't realize you're just prolonging their pain. So you're gonna go ahead and save their little dainty feelings for now, but let them endure that pain for much longer. I don't know how that kind of love exists. Like it doesn't. My wife and I don't do that. If there's something off, she'll let me know. Listen to this. At the end of last year, I was 250 pounds. I left the NFL at 240. So 10 years passed. Definitely that 250 is not the same orientation of body and muscle. I was a fatty cuckoo, man. I was a chubby bones. And my wife, no holds barred. She's like, bro, your skin is tight. She's like, I don't like you stink a little bit. You're fat. She's like, you're big in the bed. She's like, when I'm on top of you, I can feel. She just let me know. And I was like, oh, you're right. She let me have it. And I lost, and here's the thing, I didn't lose it because of that. I wanted to intentionally already, but I lost like 36 pounds from January to now. I let myself go last year. I was like, I don't care. Give me everything. Blah, 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 blah. Right? But the tough love works because here's the big thing. I think people, they don't realize that if you do this right, you'll have those moments that'll work. When my wife says things that are tough, I know her heart. Big thing. If you spend time connecting to somebody's heart, thanks, James. If you spend time connecting to somebody's heart, what happens after a while, you can say things that they don't take it just face value. They take it the value of knowing the heart behind it.
Right.
So I think if you're investing consistently in the relationship and you do have that hard conversation, like, yeah, like, you hit me, but you know what? Like, I know my best friend tells me things all the time. And he's like, I saw this video, it's stupid because of this. And I'm like, but I know his heart. He's not trying to make me feel bad. He's trying to actually tell me something that he knows I need to hear. And that's how I think it's how all relationships should be. It should be something where I can take this heat from a person because I know their heart.
Yeah. I have this thing that I do with my wife is similar to what you're saying. Is in my mind, I give her the benefit of doubt. So sometimes she'll say things to me and she knows, she's told me, like, communication, I'm not really great at that. I'm not really great at being able to take what I'm thinking and put it into words. So we understand that already because we have this conversation, this kind of conversation. Yeah. So when she says things or says things, that are out of context or not in the way that she wants to, in my mind, I give her the benefit of doubt because I know I know she would never intentionally try to hurt me. I know she would never intentionally try to talk down to me. Like, I know her heart, just like you were saying about your wife. So I'm right there with you. I fully understand what you're saying. Spending that, that quality time with her and those intimate moments with her to hear her heart and hear her mind and know where she stands and know how she views me as the man in her life. I know that she would never intentionally come across to try to tear me down in any way. So when she says something, I have to pause and be like, okay, I have my thoughts and I have what I'm feeling, right?
Yeah,
so
you're out of pocket right now. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I got to come back to you on that. Let me chew on that for a little bit. Yeah. We can have a conversation.
Oh, I understand. 100%. And I don't know about your wife. My wife's the apex in her world. You know, she is the most successful in her family, you know, mom, cousin, everybody. She just has a certain level of financial education success. At her job, she's the head honcho, right? She leads. And so when she's at home, this is where it becomes interesting because I'm also a leader, right? And I understand her. So she'll come out of pocket with some things sometimes to talk to me like she does her staff or parts of her family. And I'll bite the tongue because I do like you. I realize like she brought that home today. Okay. All right. I'll sit there and I'll eat my food and I'll do my thing. And then what I do is I'm smart about it because I think this is the way to do it. You don't address it in the emotion of it because when emotion's high, intelligence is usually low. We say things we don't mean. So I wait till it's a calm moment and I'll be like, hey, remember like 2 days ago we were sitting at the dinner table and I was trying to say something to one of the kids and you like shut me up like I was one of the kids. Yeah, no, let's not do that no more. Like, I didn't appreciate it, felt disrespected, and I need to let you know that because if I don't let you know it, you might do it again, and I think we have more problems. And then we talking about it, and I'm like, I'm not arguing. I'm just letting you know. I don't even need you to tell me sorry. I'm just going to let you know, and whatever you do from here, that's on you, right? And we leave it, and we can pin it and go on. And sure enough, the behavior changes. And don't get me wrong, I'm no angel. I guarantee I've said things. I say things all the time that she like I make fun of her being book smart, but street not as smart. And so like for her, I didn't know for a while, like that got at her. And I was like, oh, damn. And she let me know one day. I was like, all right, my bad. Like I'll let that one, I don't do it anymore. Right? I'm not perfect, but what is good is the way we can communicate, the way that I can hear something and know her heart, the way I can say something, she knows my heart. And this just comes from back and forth, consistent conversation, knowing with her deepest thoughts, like then asking the deep questions, spending time alone with her. Like these are all things that I think relationships, we think it's all got to be like watch a movie and party it up. Like, no, we just sometimes sit and just talk. That's some of the best medicine, man. Just sit and talk about stupid stuff and whatever. Like you saw this weird video, we send weird memes back and forth and we read articles and talk about them. It's not even intentional at this point. It's just what we do, right? But now I know this human being so deeply that they could say anything and I know what the heart of it is. But I also have spent that time to where when something harsh comes up, I know the heart enough to not get too mad at it.
Yeah. It's like you got to walk through the valley of discomfort to get to intimacy, right? You got to have those uncomfortable conversations. Just part of the process.
It's a gift, man. You got to open the barbed wire gift, but the present inside is so beautiful.
Yeah. And listen, man, it's been such a great chat. I appreciate you taking the time just to come and chat with me, Anthony. You have any other wisdom you'd like to share with the listeners before we have them?
I have nothing, man. You have reached the extent of any capacity I have in my brain. I don't know anything else. Where are my shoes? What are shoes? No, I'm good, man. I appreciate it. I had no idea we were going to cover today, so I'm glad that we got to hang out and chat. I hope something I said resonated with some people and they got some benefit from it. Hopefully it was at least entertaining. That's it, man. I got nothing else for you.
Absolutely. Hey, tell the people anything you have coming up, how they can get in contact with you, how they can follow you.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. Just if you want, go to here. This is one way. If you want to kind of listen to my head daily, I have something called the Shift Starter Daily Podcast. It's a daily podcast, 8 minutes long. It's just me and a microphone like this, giving you a little bump of heart in the morning. And it's just shiftstarterdaily.com.
Sweet. Hey, thank you so much, Anthony. Really appreciate it, man. We got to do this again. Looking forward to the projects you have going on.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. You have a great night. Say my blessings to the family.
You too, dude. All right, everybody. Take care. God bless. Have a great evening, everybody.